with us now, Britt Hume, Steve Hayes, and Kirsten Powers, our panel. Britt, I want to start with the newest entrance poll numbers. We have in the young people, 17 to 44. Rand Paul said he was going to get them all out, that he's at about 23%. Rubio at 44%. Trump at 43%, Cruz at 56%, if you add all of those together.
Right.
You see young people coming out for Ted Cruz, and you look at that evangelical number, you wonder if that is coming from the western part of the state.
Well, perhaps so. The other number I think is worth pointing out is, if you look at the numbers on your screen, and they may be they may be a little different now when we get the next update. 28 Cruz, 25 Trump, Rubio all the way up at 22, having been down in the polls at least at about 15. Conservative voters, fully 84% of Iowa Republican voters consider themselves conservatives. And how did they break according to our entrance poll? They broke 28% for Cruz, 24% for Trump, and 22% for Rubio, almost perfectly paralleling the state of the race as we see it now, which tells you about conservative support and to the extent to which it mirrors exactly what we're seeing.
Those are updated, I think, Britt, now to the latest sweep says 30% of the conservatives went for Cruz,
right.
22% went for Rubio, 23% went for Trump.
I have sweep 4. I must have the wrong.
This is sweep 6. So Cruz has gotten 30% of the conservatives. Right. Rubio 22 and 23.
And he's ahead. Right. Which tells you the importance of that vote.
And then you look at the issue-by-issue breakdown. It's not surprising to see here in Iowa that Trump, if immigration was your #1 issue, Trump's winning. Trump is getting the immigration vote pretty handily, 45% over the next closest guy, which is Cruz at 33. But what's interesting, Steve, here is the economy and jobs. Trump had been leading on this coming into this election pretty handily in almost every poll, and yet they're siding not with Cruz, not with Trump, with Rubio. He's got 30%. Trump's got 24%. Cruz got 18. The economy, what a shift there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't have those latest numbers.
We don't. Brett and I like to hold
the numbers. It's fine. It's fine. So you guys look smart. Yeah. We can be clueless again.
If you have any questions, just let us know.
Okay, I will. Thank you. It was very interesting. I mean, I think to flip the Rubio immigration question around, you look at Rubio. He's down, at least in this sweep that I had, in the single digits.
Oh, he's killing it.
Trump's
got 45% and Rubio's got 9%.
Yeah, 9%.
Cruz got 33%.
I mean, you think it was 12% of the Republican electorate that thought that was the most important issue. But it's killing Rubio. I mean, to the extent that you can point to an issue that has Rubio not rising higher, that's it. But I have to say, just looking early right now at these results, the story is that the establishment lane, there was so much discussion about the establishment lane and the competition in the so-called establishment lane. That competition is over, at least as far as Iowa goes. I mean,
Rubio's
there's no, I mean, you can tally Bush, Kasich, Fiorina, Christie, and they're not half of what Marco Rubio has at this point.
Right. So to that point, Kirsten, when you go to New Hampshire and a Chris Christie says, I'm the guy, or a Jeb Bush says, trust me, I can win, and they're at 2%, 4%, 3%, and Rubio's at 20+%.
Right.
How does that play?
Well, it's not going to play well for them, especially because Rubio is overperforming. And so I think he's going to, you know, if these numbers hold, he's going to come out of Iowa with a big push, because it's always the person that surprises. I think that gets, you know, people excited. And now, like you're saying, he's clearly the establishment choice. He's not off trailing, you know, pretty far behind Trump and Cruz. And I think he's, you know, going to be a serious player. I think it's going to be hard for them to try to convince anybody. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised, you probably speak to this more than I can, but that if you won't start seeing donors starting to pressure these people to get out of the race, because you have a person now that people need to get behind.
What do you make of Martin O'Malley saying this is it for him? I mean, he obviously had a very small, I know, he had a small percentage of the electorate, but who does that help? Because it's tight between Hillary and Sanders.
In the polls, they typically split between Hillary and Sanders pretty evenly. So, I don't think it's going to probably dramatically change the shape of the race. And as we can see, they're in a very, very tight race. I mean, it's very close between them. And so I would suspect that they'll probably break fairly evenly, even though I think they seem to be more Sanders-type voters. But
obviously, if Ted Cruz goes on to win this, he's the winner. But he put the whole enchilada bet on this place. And so he really needed to win, and it will be said, I think, that he got what he needed, and he goes on. Donald Trump, I think it will be said, underperformed. Marco Rubio, it looks like looked like he was at about 15% in the polling as we saw it yesterday. A couple of polls were similar on that. If he comes in the low to mid 20s, he will be the guy who's surprised. And I think what everybody's been saying about him beginning to emerge as the mainstream lane candidate will start to happen.
But this whole conventional wisdom that if we had record turnout, that Trump was going to soar.
That is amazing, isn't it? That we thought if Trump would probably win without it, at least that's what I thought, he could probably win without it. And if he got the big surge that it looks like is now of new voters, or at least a larger turnout, that he would win big. Doesn't look like it's happening yet, if at all.
Yeah. This could also speak to the fact that organization matters, right? Cruz has a good organization.
Organization versus enthusiasm? Interesting.
Thank you, panel.
Stand by.